I'm quick on the draw like the horse named McGraw from the cartoon Boom Shalock Lock Boom. Welcome everyone to Lock and Chase from the arcade by Data East in 1981. Data East was the general publisher for, the general developer for Lock and Chase all around the globe. They were the publisher in Japan. In North America, Taito had the honors, and for the most of the ports, in fact, I think pretty much all of the early ports to home systems, Mattel had the rights to this. It was actually a pretty good deal for Mattel. Atari and Coleco had gotten to most of the good arcade licenses before them. Mattel worked with Data East to get first right of refusal on their games, and Data East, for their part, wanted to get into the North American home game market. Mattel, unfortunately, didn't have the same deep bankroll as their competitors, but on the upside, they did have more originals for the Intellivision as a result. The only downside to the agreement, Data East was very hit or miss in the early years. For every Burger Time, there were other Data East games that just weren't as popular or just plain weren't as good, but they did what they could. This was actually in several different collections over the years, and it was also featured in 2018's Data East Best Of game, Heavy Burger. Notable also for Lock and Chase, this is one of the first games where you can definitely not deny that you are playing as the villain. You are a thief trying to steal gold and money, and you are being chased by the police. Really, this is not the first one of those, though. To the best of my research, that honor would go to 1976's Death Race by Exidy, which was pretty much Death Race 2000 in video game form, where you were running over people for points. And it was actually the first game that caused a major games are corrupting our children panic, way before Mortal Kombat, Night Trap, or Grand Theft Auto. Those are the main things that I have to say about Lock and Chase at the start. So without further ado, that gold ain't gonna steal itself. Okay, now as this title screen comes up, I would like you to pay close attention to the names of the cops. The cops are called the Super D Force. Smarty, Scaredy, Silly, and Stiffy. Yes, Stiffy. I'll give you a moment to make your own jokes here. The old British cartoon with a town of living hats. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of the Family Guy sketch where they were doing the I don't know if it was the Victorian age thing or it was like the old school things in the 20s where everybody talked really fast and everybody talking over and everybody talking in our outside play, and they had their pants went up to their shoulders. I would also like to note, by the way, on the subject of pants, that all of the cops are wearing pants, the thief is not. So perhaps they're not so much chasing him for bank robbery, perhaps it's indecent exposure. But in that case, it's kind of hypocritical to have someone named Stiffy coming after a guy for indecent exposure. Anyhow. We're going to see how far we can get in this, because for what some people consider a Pac-Man maze clone, Lock and Chase is pretty unforgiving. And as we head in the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang here. So as you see here, this is pretty obvious what you have to do. Walk around, grab the gold. And they freak out when you grab the money bags. While they're freaking out, you can actually walk through them if you need to, but it's not something you necessarily want to go out of your way to do. And those doors in the center part of the maze can be a real pain in the ass. I'm still not sure to this day what the hat actually does. And I swear the music for the for getting the money bag sounds like "Oh My Darling Clementine." Maybe it actually is. Who knows? One of the big variations that happen with Lock and Chase, I'll show you as soon as I can, if I can avoid doing stupid stuff like that. And hello, Joseph, how are you? But you do have a little bit of agency to get away from the cops. Oh, and here's another difference between this and Pac-Man. You have to actually get out of the maze. And you did have a way to block out the cops by closing doors in the maze. Those things are just worth extra points, I think. You did have to be careful how much you did this, though, because you could only close 2 doors at a time, and the doors would eventually reopen on their own, but once you had already closed 2 of them, you had to wait for one of them to reopen before you could pull that trick again. And it wasn't always foolproof. Sometimes the doors would... Damn it. Sometimes the doors would not always close immediately when they should. I took a chance there, and thankfully it paid off. And sometimes it misinterprets what door you want to close. As you can see, the cops do get slowed down a little bit. I was stuck there. Nowhere to go. The cops do get stuck down a little bit by going through the side channels, but I always thought it kind of funny, by the way, when Rub came up in putting your initials in. Rub in this case means backspace, but I always thought of rubbing one out. Well, not always. That came more in my teenage years. I wasn't that perverted as a kid. I was rather naive. Something else had came to my mind as I was doing some research for this game. Now, as you saw earlier, the thief in this game is not actually named, but in Japan, the thief is named Lupin. Let me repeat that now things are quieter. The thief is named Lupin, which made me wonder, was this meant to be a game based on the manga Lupin III? For those not familiar, Lupin III is a very long-running manga and also anime series in Japan. It revolves around the fictional ancestor of Master Thief by the name of Lupin, who is a fictional character. I'm trying to remember his name. Damn it, I didn't write his name down. In Japan, the series is known as Rupan Sansei. Arsène Lupin, Gentleman Thief. Thank you very much. Yes, that's him. Thank you very much, Miss Hood. But the series revolves around Lupin III and his motley crew of merry thieves, trying to pull off various greater and greater heists, and the Interpol agent who is obsessed with capturing him. Now, there had been a lot of games based on the Lupin III property, and it got me wondering, because the character was named Lupin, if this was originally supposed to be one of them, or if it was in Japan and just got translated out when it was localized for North America. Come on. Oh, good. That was too close. And I did my research, and the answer is no. It isn't. Oh, he was going the other way. I walked right into his ass. Damn. So my best guess, this was never actually licensed to be a Lupin game, though the first Lupin video game actually came out a year earlier, and it was just called Lupin III, or Rupen Sansei, in 1980, and it was a arcade stealth game, also released by Taito. So this actually had nothing to do with it. I'm guessing it was just Lupin was named as the thief as a nod. Stiffy went down. Yeah, Stiffy went limp. There was actually an arcade game that featured Lupin III in the U.S., but it was not named Lupin III. It was actually called Cliffhanger. In 1983, released by Stern. The game itself was a Laserdisc game, but it had unfortunate competition from Dragon's Lair and came out on the short end of the popularity stick. Interesting thing is, most of the gameplay in Cliffhanger was actually based on the first animated movie for Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro. Cliffhanger's been one of those games that's been, cult favorite long after it was originally released. So weep not for Lupin III. He's done just fine. Matter of fact, he has had a ton of games in Japan. More recently, he's had a lot of games in the U.S. based on the property, so he's doing just fine. Oh, and when I mentioned it's one of the oldest anime series or manga series in Japan, I ain't kidding. It was released in 1965. Yeah. This is a tough game, and that's about as well as I think I'm going to do. And I'm also out of things to say, so I think that's a good place to end my life of crime. Well, yeah, let me just... yeah. So, yeah, thank you very much for joining me on this criminal escapade. And I think a lesson was learned today that grand larceny is a much worse crime than parading around in public with a stiffy. So keep that in mind. It'll take you far in life. So take care, everyone. Until we game again. This episode's stiff penalties were made possible by Mike Panza, Viceroy Scorn, Rick in Baltimore, Tristan R. Dunn, D. Iode, Jumpy Cat, the post-production contributions of Matthew Carr Anderson, and all my upright citizen lycanthro fans. Thank you very much for your continued support. Until we game again.